Imagine you're a day's walk from home, or even a day's drive. Your son is dying. The folks that work for you that you've left in charge, they don't have any good news for you. And so you walk. You walked a full day's journey to find a man that you've only heard about. You find him and you beg him to come back to help your son. And he says something that sounds rather harsh and stops you dead in your tracks. He doesn't come with you. He doesn't come to touch your son. He doesn't pray out loud. He doesn't make any kind of show. He just says, go. Your son will live. And now you have a choice. You walked a day to get here. So do you believe him enough to turn around and walk another day back home? So Jesus has just spent 2 days in Samaria, had that encounter with the lady at the well, and now he's going back to Galilee. And this story takes place in Cana, and this is the place where Jesus turned water into wine. And I think John is connecting these two stories on purpose, because it could be that the miracle of turning the water into wine is what caused this man to come from Capernaum all the way to Cana to find Jesus to heal his son. Now, we believe that this official is a Roman official, works for the Roman government, probably employed by Herod Antipas. But what's important to note is that this man is not Jewish. He's not a disciple, but he is a desperate father. So Jesus arrives in Galilee and people are greeting him. They've seen what he has done in Jerusalem at the Passover. The word has traveled. He's become more famous. So he goes back to Cana, where he was partying and, made water into wine. And while he's there, this royal official comes and finds him. This man has traveled all the way from Capernaum, that day's trip. He probably left, way before dawn to get there at this time. His son is sick. He's worried. The way John writes this, we know that his son is at the point of death. And in fact, this man probably doesn't know if his son has survived this long. So this official finds Jesus and begs him to come to Capernaum and heal his son before he dies. This word beg, it's just deep with meaning. We understand beg, and it's just this pleading, this begging. But think about this. This is a government official, a royal official, who has just walked all day, 20 plus miles or so, and he finds Jesus. He's a man of rank and authority who's rich enough to have servants or has enough authority to have servants. And he is on his knees in front of a carpenter in a land that they control, that they are the occupiers. He's part of an occupying government, an occupying army. I really do think that this reply that Jesus gives is kind of to the man, but also to the crowd. It was aimed at the crowd because the crowd was there waiting for Jesus to do another miracle. They were there following him, listening to what he was saying, but they really wanted to see another miracle. And I think that's what Jesus was saying. So the message was to the crowd, but it was also said to the man. And so imagine how he felt. He's begging on his knees for this carpenter to come heal his son. And he says, unless you people see signs and wonders, you'll never believe. But the official doesn't engage with it. Maybe he understood that he was not him. So if the shoe didn't fit, he didn't wear it. He doesn't argue. He doesn't defend himself. He just begs more urgently. And he says, "Sir, come down before my son dies." So he's pleading, asking Jesus to come. And then Jesus looks at him and says, "Go. Your son will live." That's it. No journey to Capernaum, no dramatic gestures, no crowd gathered by the bedside. Just go. And John tells us that the man believed what Jesus said and left. He turns around and starts the long walk home. He doesn't know any good news yet, doesn't know anything yet. He just turns, does what Jesus says, and goes. So he walked a day. He was with Jesus for a few moments. He turns around and is walking back. He's walking at night. So the next morning, the next day, his servants see him come running towards him with the good news. It says that his son is alive. He's going to live. He's going to make it. And the father asks, pretty logical question, when did he start getting better? They tell him yesterday at the 7th hour, which is about 1 in the afternoon. The father does the math and realizes that's the exact moment when Jesus said, "Go, your son lives." That same moment, he was healed 20 miles away. So John records that that official and his whole household became a believer, a follower of Jesus. And interesting, this is the second sign that Jesus performed coming from Judea to Galilee. So I think this story has three main things that I want to talk about. First, it's what Jesus said before he healed anybody. He says, unless you see signs and wonders, you'll never believe. And that's a critique. I mean, he's kind of slamming some people. He's calling out what he sees in this crowd. He's calling out these people that were following him around, wanting to see the miracles, waiting to see the miracles. And that troubles him because he realized that some people want the miracles more than Jesus himself. It's easy to hear that and think, that's not me. I would never be like that. But most of us have prayed. And a lot of us have requested miracles. When that miracle came, our faith at a minimum took a hit, or it was obliterated and we walked away from Christ and from the church altogether. I mean, I don't know how many people I've talked to who said they used to go to church and then Jesus let somebody die, or they used to go to church and this happened, or they had cancer and Jesus didn't heal it. So they don't care about Jesus anymore. It's sad. But when you focus on just the miracle and not who Jesus is and what he has done, that can happen. And the second is, this was kind of a test. I don't think John explicitly says that, but I think this was a test. When Jesus said, "Go, your son will live," that was not an invitation. I think it was a test with a clear pass and fail. The official could have stayed, he could have argued, he could have begged, he could have groveled, whatever it took. He could say, "How do I know? What proof do I have? How can you prove that you can heal my son from here?" The way we understand healing is that somebody's got to anoint their head with oil and, lay hands on them. And Jesus, we see him laying on hands and doing physical stuff with other folks that he's healed. So it's not a stretch to think that Jesus has to be there to do the healing. So the man could stay, ask Jesus to go with him, ask for proof, and his son could have died. Or he could turn around, start walking, and not even saying anything. I think one thing about faith that we get wrong is that we believe that faith is the absence of doubt and that faith is the absence of uncertainty. Or we might say that faith is the feeling of being certain. It's knowing, it's having proof. But that's wrong. Faith is not about certainty at all. Faith is the decision to act on something you've been told before there is even proof that it is true. And so the official passes the test, not because he didn't have doubts, not because he had certainty and he just knew 100% that what Jesus said was going to happen. I mean, we don't know what was going on in his head when he was walking step by step, mile after mile in the dark back home, but he went. And that's what faith looked like in that moment as he turned and walked home, simply by what Jesus said. Then the third thing I think that's important here is the distance. I mean, Jesus healed a boy he never saw, maybe didn't even know, in a town that he wasn't in. And the boy was healed the instant Jesus said, "Go, your son will live." There was no touching, there was no proximity, there was no ritual, there was no anointing, laying on of hands, just Jesus saying go from 20 miles away. I mean, think about this. I mean, people who are faking healing, guys on TV, whatever, or people who just got lucky and his fever broke and he started getting better. He wasn't going to die anyway. I mean, you could say that. But people who are doing this for the money, for the show, for the following, they don't attempt long-distance miracles. They want a crowd to witness it. They want a way to take the credit. Even though the credit is God's, they want a way to take the credit. But here this boy was healed, no one to take the credit, no crowds, just the people that were there trying to tend to him, watching over him. No dramatic moment for the audience, no speaking in tongues, nothing. Just a word from Jesus 20 miles away said, "Go, your son will live." And that was it. He was healed. So John calls this the second sign. The first sign was turning water into wine, making something out of nothing, bringing joy or keeping the joy at the celebration. The second was life restored, the life of a dying child restored. And what did that bring the family? Joy. And if you think about this story, this story is not so much about the healing. I mean, because it was very quick and it was not personal to us. It was not the main character of this story. The main character of the story was the Roman official. It was the father who was so desperate that he would walk 20 miles, find a carpenter, and beg on his knees in the dirt to come with him to save his dying son. And then that same man who walked all that way after hearing the words from Jesus, "Go, your son will live," turns around and walks home. So he's been told something by someone, and so he has a reason to believe, but he hasn't seen it yet. Jesus offers no affirmation. No, yeah, really, I'm telling you, man, your son's healed. Go ahead and take off. None of that reaffirming. And he's somewhere on the road after traveling through the night between Cana and Capernaum. And all he has is what Jesus said. And I can just imagine that playing over and over in his mind. How many times did he pause and turn around to go back? How many times did he said, "What was I thinking? I should have stayed. I should have begged more. Why did I leave? What am I doing?" But he keeps walking. And I think that's the story. I think that's what John wants us to take away from this. I mean, the healing's great. And I don't want to make light of that. But the man kept walking. Jesus said, "Go and your son will live." But the man kept walking. I think it took a lot of faith. Not the dramatic moment of decision. He didn't ask for a prayer chain. But think about when those servants were running up the road to meet him. He probably saw them way off. Imagine the time that it took for them to run up to him. He's bone tired, weary, been traveling for 2 days now. He's on almost his 40th mile maybe. And he sees them running to him. And I don't know, maybe they got closer and he could see the joy in their face. I don't know. But imagine when he first saw them coming towards him, what he was thinking. Are they here to tell me my son is dead? But maybe he had enough faith and understanding of what happened that maybe he knew without a shadow of doubt, because Jesus said it and he turned around to walk home, that when he saw those servants running back towards him, maybe he knew. I don't know. But think about that. When you're on your way back, you haven't seen anything, you don't know anything, you have no confirmation, but you're still walking. And I think most faith happens on the road, maybe in the dark, between the promise and the proof. Maybe you have received a promise. Maybe you are walking alone in the dark on your way back home from an encounter with Jesus, and you don't know if it's come true yet or not, if the healing or the promise has taken place. Maybe you're still on the journey of being healed by cancer. Maybe you're still on the journey of being healed from brokenness and grief. Maybe you've been promised a job and you still got some bills to pay before you get that job. I don't know what road, what journey you're on. It may be dark, it may be rainy. You're probably tired, worn out. You're probably doubting everything. And if that's you, can I just tell you, keep walking. Grace and peace to you. God bless you.